On July 22, 2026, Donald Trump put his signature on a document that reshapes the Middle East forever. Saudi Arabia, the keeper of Islam's holiest sites, the world's largest oil exporter, and Iran's greatest rival, now has a path to nuclear enrichment. Not in secret, not through back channels, with America's official blessing. This isn't just another foreign policy headline. This is the moment the nuclear dominoes start falling. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this deal happened, who wins, who loses, and what it means for the next decade of global power. What exactly did Trump sign? Let's start with what actually happened. Reports from Reuters and the Associated Press confirm that Trump signed off on what's called a 123 agreement, named after Section 123 of the U.S. Atomic Energy Act. This is the same legal framework America used with the UAE back in 2009. But here's the critical difference. The UAE deal explicitly banned enrichment and reprocessing, the gold standard of non-proliferation. Saudi Arabia has been demanding enrichment rights from day one, and according to multiple reports, this deal gives them exactly that. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Saudi Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman have been quietly negotiating this for months. The timing is not accidental. With the Iran war escalating, the Houthis blockading the Red Sea, and oil prices at historic highs, Washington needed a strategic win in the Gulf, and Riyadh knew exactly how to extract maximum leverage. Why now? The geopolitical chessboard. To understand this deal, you have to zoom out. Look at the board. First, the Iran factor. America and Iran are exchanging fire. Houthi rebels, backed by Tehran, just declared a blockade on Saudi Arabia's Red Sea passage. Trump needed to signal to Iran that America will arm its allies to the teeth. What better signal than giving Riyadh the nuclear fuel cycle? Second, the China factor. Beijing brokered the Iran-Saudi rapprochement in 2023. They've been courting the Gulf states with infrastructure, technology, and nuclear cooperation. Pakistan has emerged as a key nuclear broker. There are reports, including from sources close to geopolitical analysts like Pepe Escobar, that Riyadh has been exploring a China-backed, Pakistan-coordinated security framework as an alternative to the American umbrella. Trump saw this and calculated, better a Saudi Arabia with U.S.-monitored enrichment than a Saudi Arabia buying Chinese reactors with no American oversight. Third, Vision 2030 energy demand. Saudi Arabia burns over 1 million barrels of oil per day domestically. In summer, that spikes even higher. They need nuclear for desalination, for industry, for the post-oil economy. This isn't just about weapons capability. It's about keeping the lights on. The proliferation domino effect. Here's where it gets dangerous. If Saudi Arabia enriches uranium, the regional calculus shifts overnight. Turkey has been vocal about wanting its own nuclear program. Erdogan has said, and I quote, "Some countries have missiles with nuclear warheads and they tell us we can't have them. This is unacceptable." If Riyadh gets enrichment, Ankara's next in line. Egypt has been trying to build nuclear power for decades. They signed with Russia for the El Daba plant. But if their regional rival Saudi Arabia enriches, will Cairo accept a reactor without the full fuel cycle? The UAE set the precedent of nuclear power without enrichment. If Saudi Arabia breaks that model, it undermines everything Washington told Abu Dhabi. And then there's Israel. Israel's nuclear doctrine, the Begin Doctrine, has always been prevent any regional adversary from acquiring nuclear weapons. They struck Iraq's Osirak reactor in 1981. They struck Syria's reactor in 2007. They've conducted covert operations against Iran's program for decades. How does Jerusalem react when the Saudi enrichment centrifuges start spinning? Winners and losers. Winner: Saudi Arabia. Crown Prince MBS gets the crown jewel of his Vision 2030, energy independence and the technological capability that, if ever needed, could be weaponized. He also gets a massive diplomatic win. America chose Riyadh over the non-proliferation purists. Winner: U.S. defense industry, nuclear reactors, security systems, IAEA compliance infrastructure. This is a multi-billion-dollar contract pipeline for American companies. Loser. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The NPT rests on a grand bargain. Nuclear states disarm, non-nuclear states stay non-nuclear, and everyone has access to peaceful nuclear energy. If the world's superpower gives enrichment technology to an autocratic monarchy in the world's most volatile region, the treaty becomes a joke. Loser. Iran. Tehran has been sanctioned for years over its nuclear program. Now, their arch-rival gets enrichment with American approval. Expect hardliners in Tehran to use this as ammunition against any future diplomatic engagement. Loser. Global non-proliferation. Every country that ever wanted enrichment, South Korea, Brazil, maybe even Japan, now has a precedent to point to. Conclusion. The new Middle East. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This deal is simultaneously logical and dangerous. It's logical because America cannot afford to lose Saudi Arabia to the Chinese sphere of influence. It's logical because deterring Iran requires credible capability in the Gulf. It's logical because Saudi Arabia will get nuclear technology from someone, better the US than Beijing or Moscow. It's dangerous because it normalizes enrichment in a region where 3 wars are currently active. Dangerous because once the enrichment genie is out of the bottle, it doesn't go back in. Dangerous because every future Middle Eastern crisis now carries a nuclear dimension that didn't exist before. The question isn't whether this deal will have consequences. The question is whether America and its allies can manage those consequences before the next crisis hits. Because in the Middle East, the next crisis is never far away. That's the full breakdown. If you want more deep dive analysis on geopolitics and global power shifts, subscribe and hit the bell. See you in the next one.